In 1942, when I made my first stock purchase at 11 years old, I did not fully understand the concept of a financial product designed to feel safe while quietly redistributing your money to the institution selling it. I learned that over the following 8 decades, by watching which products consistently delivered what they promised and which ones delivered something less than what their buyers understood they were purchasing. I want to talk about one category that has troubled me more than almost any other across those 84 years. Not because it is rare, it represents over $300 billion in annual sales in the United States alone. Not because it is fraudulent, it is legal, regulated, sold by licensed professionals. But because the mechanism by which it destroys retirement security is perfectly disguised as the thing it is supposed to provide, safety. The product is the annuity. Specifically, the variable and indexed annuities sold as retirement income solutions to people in their 50s and early 60s, the people most vulnerable to the promise of guaranteed income at precisely the moment when that promise sounds most essential. Meet Anne. She is 57 years old, a project manager at a technology company in Seattle, Washington. 22 years of disciplined retirement saving. Her 401k holds approximately $340,000. She is 8 years from retirement at 65. For the past year, a financial advisor has recommended she move $200,000 of her 401k into an indexed annuity as the foundation of her retirement income plan. The presentation was professional, the brochure was detailed, the guarantees sounded solid, the income projections showed a comfortable retirement. Anne has one question before she signs. Is this the right product for her? Subscribe and turn on the bell before I answer that, because what I'm about to show Anne about how this product generates its returns and for whom is the part the 40-page contract contains, but the presentation never states clearly. An indexed annuity is a contract between Anne and an insurance company. She gives them $200,000. They promise to return that capital with interest, linked to an index like the S&P 500, but capped typically at 6 to 10% annually, while protecting her from losses. If the index rises 15%, Anne earns her cap. If it falls 20%, Anne earns zero. On the surface, this sounds like an excellent arrangement. Here is what the arrangement actually costs. The mortality and expense risk charge, 1 to 1.5% annually. The administrative fee, 0.1 to 0.3%. The guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit rider, the income guarantee Anne finds most appealing, costs another 0.5 to 1.5% annually. Total, approximately 2 to 3.5% of Anne's account value every year, whether markets rise or fall, whether the income benefit is activated or not. Now I want Anne to see what 2 to 3.5% in annual fees cost across a 20-year retirement. Because this is the number the contract discloses in scattered percentage figures, but never presents as a single honest dollar amount. $200,000 growing at the S&P 500's historical average of 10% for 20 years with no fees becomes approximately $1,340,000. The same $200,000 growing at 10% minus 2.5% in fees, a net of 7.5%, becomes approximately $858,000. The difference, approximately $482,000, on a $200,000 initial investment over 20 years. This is the compounding cost of the fee structure described in the brochure as reasonable, competitive, and standard. But the product design goes further than the fee structure alone. The surrender period. Most indexed annuities include surrender charges that penalize withdrawals during the first 7 to 10 years, typically starting at 7 to 8% and declining to 0. If Anne needs her capital for a medical emergency, a family situation, or simply because she recognizes a better alternative, she faces a penalty of $14,000 to $16,000 in year 1. The surrender period is described as a feature that allows the insurance company to invest for the long term. What it actually does is make the cost of correcting a mistake financially punishing. Once inside the contract, the rational choice is to stay. The product uses its structure to make leaving expensive, and therefore to eliminate the possibility that Anne will do the arithmetic I am about to show her. The cap. When the S&P 500 returned over 26% in 2023, Anne's indexed annuity would have credited her cap rate, perhaps 10%. The insurance company retained the remaining 16% on her capital. In a flat year, Anne earns zero. In a down year, Anne earns zero. The years of strongest market performance, the years that would have most dramatically grown Anne's wealth, are precisely the years where the largest gap exists between what the market produced and what Anne received. I want to be clear about the advisor who recommended this product. In most cases, the recommendation is sincere. The advisor genuinely believes the downside protection and income guarantee justify the cost for a client approaching retirement who fears market volatility. That belief is sometimes correct. For someone who would genuinely panic sell in a correction and lock in permanent losses, the behavioral protection has real value. For someone with no other guaranteed income and severe volatility intolerance, the certainty has real value. The question is whether that value is worth 2 to 3.5% annually for 20 years. For most people who already receive Social Security, have a reasonable emergency fund, and can tolerate holding an index fund through a market correction, the honest answer is no. The alternative is simple. $200,000 in a low-cost total market index fund. The Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund carries an expense ratio of 3 basis points or 3 cents per $100. Grows at approximately the full historical market return. No surrender period. No cap on participation. No mortality and expense charge. No rider fees. Full liquidity at any time. I also want Anne to understand why the product feels right, because understanding the design of that feeling is the only way to see through it. The advisor presents the annuity in an office with credentials on the wall. The brochure features the downside protection prominently. The income projections show comfortable retirement income produced by sophisticated software. The guarantee language is large and reassuring. The fee structure is present, legally required to be disclosed, but distributed across multiple charges in 40 pages that most buyers sign without fully reading. The advisor's commission on an indexed annuity is typically 6 to 8% of the premium, $12,000 to $16,000 on Anne's $200,000 investment. This commission is funded by the product's fees. The fees come from Anne's compounding. The compounding that does not happen for Anne happens instead for the insurance company. This is not a conspiracy. It is an incentive structure operating exactly as designed. Let me come back to Anne one final time. In the first version, Anne transfers $200,000 into the indexed annuity. For the first years, the zero floor protection during market corrections confirms the product is working. In year 12, she activates the lifetime income benefit. The income is real. It is also approximately 60% of what her index fund alternative would have produced at the same point, because the fee burden absorbed the compounding difference silently over 2 decades in amounts too small to feel significant in any given quarter. In the second version, Anne asks one question before signing: what is my total annual fee burden, including all charges, expressed as a single percentage of account value? She runs the compounding math against a low-cost index fund. She keeps her $200,000 in the 401k's index fund options at 6 basis points. 8 years later at retirement, she has approximately $120,000 more than the annuity would have provided, before accounting for surrender charges she never paid and cap limitations that never applied. The guarantee is real. The cost of the guarantee is also real. Most people calculate the first and never calculate the second, because the product is designed so that the first feels reassuring enough to make the second feel ungrateful to examine. Subscribe to this channel and ring the bell. The next video goes through the specific questions to ask any financial advisor before purchasing any product with a commission structure. The questions that reveal where the incentive actually sits. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Make sure you calculate both the guarantee and its cost before you sign. This content is produced with the assistance of artificial intelligence for educational purposes only. Nothing here constitutes personalized financial advice. Consult a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions.